Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a universal challenge that pretty much every single one of us faces, whether that's at home, at work, or anywhere in between. We're talking about the delicate and honestly often misunderstood art of providing true emotional support. I mean, have you ever tried to comfort a friend, maybe a child or a colleague, who's just really upset, only to feel like you somehow accidentally made the whole thing worse? Well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to use the science of emotional safety to understand exactly why that happens and how we can powerfully shift our approach. So, think about the last time you saw someone you care about crying or deeply distressed. Our natural, instinctual reaction is almost always just jump right in and stop the pain, right? We want to distract them, cheer them up, and basically get them back to feeling good as fast as humanly possible. It feels so incredibly natural to do that. But as this question highlights, why does this super well-intentioned urge so often backfire, leaving the other person feeling totally isolated? Section 1. The urge to fix. Let's take a closer look at our habitual responses to other people's pain and, really, the accidental damage those responses can cause. Okay, let's dive right into this. One of the biggest pitfalls of our instinct to fix things is falling into toxic positivity. You hear all the time phrases like, "don't worry, everything happens for a reason," or, "hey, look on the bright side, it could be way worse." Now, what's genuinely fascinating here is the massive gap between our intent and the actual impact. See, this kind of premature reassurance is meant to help someone feel better, but the consequence? It actually invalidates their very real emotional experience. It sends this subtle underlying message that their negative emotions are somehow wrong or an overreaction, and that they need to just box them up and suppress them immediately. Section 2. Defining holding space. So, if fixing and cheering up aren't the answer, what exactly is the alternative? Let's look at this game-changing practice. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that holding space means making an active, conscious decision not to fix the person. Instead, you're providing this deeply supportive, completely non-judgmental environment where they can just freely experience whatever they are feeling without an ounce of pressure to change or cheer up. It requires you to be grounded, compassionate, and fully present. You're just listening. You aren't offering unsolicited advice. You aren't trying to control the narrative. You simply acknowledge their feelings and let them process the emotion fully until it naturally runs its course. Now, you might be wondering, what does this actually sound like in the real world? Well, here are some perfect examples from the source material. It's stuff like, "I'm so sorry you went through that," or, "Wow, that sounds really tough," or simply, "I'm listening, take your time." Notice what's missing from those phrases. There's absolutely zero advice, no silver linings, just presence and validation. This beautifully illustrates a concept that's really common in therapy called the container. When you hold space, you're essentially acting as this metaphorical vessel. Through your calm presence, your active listening, and your empathy, you build a boundary that makes the other person feel totally secure. Their emotions aren't going to spill over and flood the room, and they certainly aren't going to be brushed aside. You're just holding it all, maintaining your focus on them without projecting your own anxiety or your own desperate need to find a solution. Section 3. The science of safety. Let's shift gears from the abstract ideas of space and containers to the truly fascinating biological mechanics happening right beneath the surface. So let's talk about neuroception. According to Professor Stephen Porges and his polyvagal theory, our nervous systems are literally, constantly, unconsciously scanning our environment for danger. This automatic process is neuroception, and it happens completely under the radar. Actually, before a person even has the time to consciously think about whether they're safe with you, their nervous system has already made the call. It's reading your facial expressions, your posture, how fast you're talking, and the tone of your voice. And this brings us to another foundational concept, Dr. Dan Siegel's window of tolerance. Every single one of us has a specific range of emotional arousal where we just operate at our best. When we're inside this window, we can handle life's curveballs, we can learn new things, and we can make rational decisions without completely losing our minds. But highly stressful experiences shove us right outside that window. Some folks get pushed way up into hyperarousal. They experience panic, anger, racing thoughts, and just total emotional overwhelm. Others, they drop down into hypoarousal. They become emotionally numb, exhausted, and completely detached. The thing is, in either of these states, logical, reflective thinking is practically impossible. So the real goal of holding space is to gently help someone navigate back into their window of tolerance so their nervous system can finally settle down. Section 4, the power of co-regulation. This is where we get to see just how profoundly our nervous systems are constantly influencing the people around us. I absolutely love this historical anecdote from our source material. So, back in the 17th century, the inventor of the pendulum clock, Christian Huygens, noticed something wild. If you place two grandfather clocks near each other, even if you start them with completely different motions, they will eventually synchronize their swings perfectly. They physically interact and sync up through these tiny, invisible vibrations in the wall supporting them. And you know what? Human beings do the exact same thing. From the time we are infants, our nervous systems are continually regulating one another. Think about how a calm parent can settle an anxious baby. A calm, regulated person sends these repeated biological signals of safety to an agitated person's nervous system, which gradually brings down their emotional arousal. This is called co-regulation. Your calm presence literally, physically helps settle someone else's anxiety. So here's a brief grounding script that professionals use to co-regulate. You just notice your feet on the ground, notice the chair supporting you, allow your body to relax into that support. Take a slow, comfortable breath, hold it, and let out a long exhale. Then just look around the room for signs of safety. Notice the incredible power of pausing here. A lot of us instinctively rush to fill any silence with a barrage of questions or reassurance, but silence gives people the space they need to actually process their emotions. Providing that calm presence during a pause communicates ultimate patience and acceptance. Section 5. Safe space versus holding space. Let's clear up a really critical difference between two terms that get thrown around a lot and are pretty often mistaken for the exact same thing. To put it simply, a safe space is the location, while holding space is the action. A safe space is that pre-established environment, physical or metaphorical, where a person feels psychological safety. It's the belief that they can express themselves without being judged or rejected. Holding space, on the other hand, is the active, dynamic support that you are providing within that location when the person is actually being vulnerable. You need the safe space environment for the holding space process to even work. But there are all these subtle, everyday mistakes that can instantly shatter that psychological safety. You gotta watch out for prioritizing your own agenda over the person's actual needs. You have to untangle your own sense of self-worth from whether or not they magically get better in 5 minutes, trying to fix them, letting your unconscious biases dictate how you react, or just assuming you know their whole story instead of staying genuinely curious. All of these things will completely disrupt that delicate holding space process. Section 6, regulating yourself first. Because here is the undeniable truth. You literally cannot pour from an empty cup. If you try to hold space for someone when your own nervous system is agitated, it's just going to lead to co-dysregulation. You'll just make each other more anxious. And that is exactly why you need your own self-regulation toolbox. We're talking mindfulness, breathwork, and super importantly, setting healthy boundaries. Holding space does not mean absorbing all of someone's emotions or suddenly becoming responsible for solving their life problems. Practicing self-compassion, reframing your negative thoughts, and maintaining those limits ensures you don't burn out from compassion fatigue. Taking care of yourself is literally a prerequisite for taking care of anyone else. And to make sure you aren't carrying the heavy emotional baggage of everyone else around with you all day, you can use a symbolic ritual. A lot of therapists use this one. When a heavy conversation wraps up, you just say to yourself, I release everything that's not mine, and, as a symbolic ritual, I return it to where it's come from with consciousness attached. It's just a really beautiful way to stay empathetic while still protecting your own emotional health. So, we've explored the biology of safety, the power of the container, and the absolute necessity of regulating yourself first. I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to take into your week. Think about the people in your life right now who might be struggling, maybe pushed right outside their window of tolerance. Knowing what you know now about the incredible biological healing power of just a quiet, non-judgmental presence, who will you hold space for today?